Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another RCT2 reviews. It's been a little while. It's been a week since I last did a stream, since I am back to work. Streams are a little varied at the moment until I can get into a routine. So this weekend, I'm hopefully going to record a couple extras that I can upload to YouTube over time through the week, so then we have some more consistent viewing. But we are back to it right now, and we're going to do a little bit different of a park today. This is a portion of a park, just the entrance, as you can see, by Lewis. This was done for the RC&F Discord's defunct contest, which ended up being a contest where you had a specific challenge each round, and then if you got to the next round, then you had a new challenge and you had to expand onto the existing park. So, from what I understand, the first round was an entrance. So we start here. This is a 4-map little saga we're going to go through. So we start here at the entrance. This is the Celebration Plaza, Cedar Fair's Celebration Plaza. Don't even really need Cedar Fair in the name to tell that this is Cedar Fair. Because we have our iconic front entrance from Cedar Point here and some suspicious foreshadowing with the keyhole elements right here. These nice big towers on either side. It's definitely got that very modern Cedar Fair look, similar to what Carowinds has done in addition to Cedar Fair. Very kind of simple modernist type buildings with these kind of big flat overhangs. Some kind of wood detailing and a nice little bit of landscaping and kind of the larger path making as far as Plaza goes. We used a lot of the roof pieces here to really kind of show some various geometric patterns in throughout here. I kind of like that we have our central little hub here and then it radiates out with all these stripes the whole way across. Nice queues up to the season pass area and our ticket booth here. Kind of showing a more modern approach to how theme park ticketing works. No longer do you have the parks where you have your ticket booth here and then you have, or your turnstiles here, and then you have kind of 1, 2, 3, 4 ticket booths in a line blocking the entrance. Now, being that most people buy their things online, you just plow straight on in here and go through the park and you're in. So a lot has changed in the way the parks are designed since the earlier days, I suppose, and the internet is. And mobile phones have been one of the key drivers of that. So really good look here. I like that. I like the variety of plants on here, the different kind of plants here that still are regular, but it gives it some variety rather than just copy paste. I like the scrolling entry signs and how they're divided in half with the frame here, so it kind of looks like multiple pieces. So you can see the ones that are open versus the ones that are exit only here in red. So I kind of like that. On the back side, we have our Come Again Soon sign. Nice restroom here with the screening wall on either side. And then this pretty pleasant kind of lodge-style feeling building with a nice big roof. I like this green color a lot. And then terraced dining all around. So you can kind of look out over what you assume to be Future Park here. And then there's some tables spilling out here onto the main pathway. On the other side, you have a pretty massive locker building, which kind of hints to this being a pretty sizable park. And then some of these nice little planters here with some potential seat wall or some other things in here. But to see the next part, we're going to have to load the next file. And we move on to Cedar Fair's Old Country, which adds a couple of things. So we've got quite a bit. Actually, 2.5 coasters. Well, 3.5 coasters, I suppose, if we want to count that one. So let's explore. So now we have our fully fleshed out midway here as you come into the main sign, which is a little frustratingly off center, especially when you have this whole regular thing up to this point. But I can also appreciate that this coaster is sort of that central feature focal point as you come up. It's just a little bit bothersome that it's just off to the side. But I like the logo here, that design. I like the little bridge here, even though I'm not a huge fan of the wood slats. They look a little bit thin and almost unfinished, I suppose. But to be fair, a lot of this was built very quickly, and as the contest was fleshed out, so you can kind of forgive a lot of the unfinishedness of it. I just like the kind of macro and some of the detailing that's there. This almost feels like it was an existing bridge that was kind of the original entry into the park, and then the park got this nice, brand shiny new entrance here, and this guy kind of lives off to the side as a reminder of what was there. But let's backtrack and let's take a look at this guy. So this is Thunder Run. So this is a Chance Morgan coaster. This is kind of an interesting design because it's almost like some of the earlier Arrow coasters, where like it reminds me of Steel Phantom at Kennywood, that had almost a hyper coaster start and then inversions at the end. So this one sort of mixes those two bits together too. So let's take a look. We have a pretty sizable first drop here. Definite gatekeeper inspiration with the color and the keyholes here. So here we see those keyholes in use up and through. And then we get into our weird bit here with the inversion. So we have our first inversion here, our Batwing, and then we're going to go into the Sidewinder here, followed by the vertical loop. And then we're back to Hypercoaster with a nice little slow airtime hill here, up into a mid-course brake run that's maybe a couple of tiles too short, but has a nice little vac staircase here. Then we head back parallel and hit the first of two tunnels in a row, 1 and 2. Pretty tight little airtime hill there, but should give you a lot of airtime. And this cool cutback inversion over the entrance, which is a big plus for me. Back under the entrance here, and then the helix and up into the brakes. Interesting ride. Realistic? Maybe. It's not, doesn't hit all the points there, but I like it well enough. It's a different take on things. And I like that it's not just the pure straight wing coaster through the Cedar Point style. I mean, it's a difference. Point of difference is good. So I do like that. And the station is very cool. I like how it's incorporating the maintenance area here. Kind of has the classic open air style of a lot of the Cedar Fair stations, and this sort of nice entrance. Almost reminds me of a bit of Vortex at Kings Island station with the little tower here. We do have our little maintenance area here, but a transfer track that is too short for the train. So again, something to keep in mind when those happen. This brake run is maybe a little bit short in general, and I guess 6 cars works just fine. But I do like the supports. I can say that very much. I'm a fan of all these across here, and the nice little smaller circular footers. I think those look quite good. And just on the whole, I think it was very well done. So here is the next bit. We've got a filler ride in here. This is a Harvest Spinner by Wisdom Rides. Actually, didn't realize Wisdom made a scrambler. Usually they're Eli Bridge. But the main attraction here is Cross Country Run, which is S&S. So Arrow built the original suspended single rail coasters, not suspended. They were at Knott's Berry Farm and Blackpool, where that one still exists in the triple variety. So here we have a double variety. S&S has started advertising these as sort of a classic ride that has been brought back. No one has bit on that yet, so we still have the same old style, but no one's gone for it just yet. But pretty interesting open air station here, sort of modernist almost. And then we have the 2 different stations here. I love the multicolored soapbox racers. And we have lift number 1 here that takes you up to the first bit. These rides are cool because you don't see them very often, but they lend themselves well to some decent theming, and this one kind of tells a little story. So we're going up here through this kind of dirt by the hedges, and we're going to go over this nice little brook here, up and over a couple little hills, and then around this nice tree, through the field, which I appreciate that there's the tall stuff, and then this is kind of plowed over where the coaster is going through it. Then we have lift number 2 over some very nice supports, and then we kind of get into our little steeplechase section here, where we're going to hop this hedge, and then we're going to go into the sewers here with the green gassy smoke coming out. Maybe not that best look that you want coming off of here is the poop smell or whatever it might be, but I do like this big spine underneath, and then the pathway up under the whole thing. I think that's really cool, and honestly it's just a really pleasant looking ride. So I like that a lot. Here we have our little bit of theming to go along with this country type theme. A lot of these nice wood fences and everything as well, but cute little barn and some bits of theming nearby. So very pleasant and a good look for this whole area. And then we get a hint of what's next to come. So here is Racer, which is suspiciously single. This is a PTC wooden coaster, and here we have it going along. So this is not, as it expands, it's not a timeline. It's just kind of revealing more of the park, because some of these are older than others, and some of them are more recent than others. So this PTC wooden coaster would theoretically be before both of these coasters here. I would have pegged the steeplechase to be older, but since it's noted as S&S, it's one of the more recent versions, so this very well could be the newest thing in the park. All right, so let's go again, and let's look at Cedar Fair's Adventure Zone, which is the second part here. So here we have the other half of Racer, which is still suspiciously not done, so perhaps we'll get to see that one in the next round. Foreshadowing there for you. But let us cross underneath the wooden coaster and see. There's nothing else changed out here, so let's see what we have back here. First bit is the Drop of Doom and Intamin Gyro drop. A little bit tight on the theming here. I always tend to go a quarter tile out on all sides just to give it a little bit of breathing room. But well, I actually really like these coverings. To be honest, it's just a very simple matter of posts are stuck inward from from this corners, so it looks like it's cantilevered out just a little bit, and it's just really pleasant. Here, I know we've talked about this on other streams, is a good indication of a quarter tile queue line that's just uses the full tile queue over top of it and does it all right. Actually looks pretty good. Nice use here of some of the more difficult to use scenery pieces that either they're from the expansions or they're the custom scenery version from the expansions, but definitely some interesting things. But we get into this sort of temple-y themed space with two different rides in one here, so I think this is kind of cool. So Tomb Raider, here we have an interactive shooting dark ride coaster thing that's noted as Premier, and then we have back here Tomb Raider the Ride, which is a top spin, so we can assume that is Hus rides, with our queue line coming through this whole space. So this one is clearly inspired by Tomb Raider at Kings Island, which was the Hus Mega Top Spin, the giant 3-row, one of the world's largest flat rides, and that had some pretty incredible theming before it had since been removed after Paramount was bought by Cedar Fair and subsequently closed the ride and removed it. But so we have our queue line starting up here, and this is a whole kind of story-driven thing, and that goes all the way back to here. And then you hop on this little spinning coaster through all these show scenes. It was noted in the description that it's a shooting dark ride, little 2-car trains here rolling through the space. I really like it, with a little bit of coaster track here and a bit of launch up at the end. Almost feels sort of like a Gringotts at Universal feel, so I do kind of like that look. Now back here we have the Hus Top Spin, which I guess once you get off this, you then get to go ride this. I kind of like that, 2 rides in one. It's pretty neat, exciting thing. The clearances look a little bit tight, maybe, but I think the theming is pretty neat, and I like the cutaway because it kind of hints that there's more stuff, but it wouldn't really make sense to theme it all because then you couldn't see it even if you removed the ceiling. So I appreciate the cutaway so that you can kind of enjoy the space. Would have been neat to see some of the more back areas developed out a little bit, but you know, I really do like what's here. I think it's pleasant and very clean. But we have one more season to look at, so let's look at Cedar Fair's Evergreen Gardens, which I appreciate what I assume to be a nod to the original Evergreen Gardens scenario. So we start back at the front here. Everything is the same up through this area. We've got all this, but our wooden coaster is running now, so we will enjoy that in a minute. And then we also have one more temple-themed ride in a box. Wonder what that could be. So let's start back here, though, with Racer. Nice double queue up to this space, and a pretty classic look. I like that these are running big trains. None of them did run a 7-car train. Usually they ran a 3-bench a PTC train, sometimes 4 cars, generally 4 cars, sometimes more, but very akin to what you would see at the Kings Parks or Carowinds. Generally, they were coming from the Paramount Parks. So we had Racer at Kings Island, we had Rebel Yell, which is now Racer 75 at Kings Dominion, and the Thunder Road at Carowinds, which unfortunately has been lost to us now. So let's take a quick ride on this one, even if it's a pretty simple coaster. Now this one's on the shorter side. Typically you see these be just a little bit longer. Generally where you would see that is here. You'd probably see another couple of hills, generally some taller stuff rather than the speed hills that we're seeing here. I can say that I like the look of this 4 altogether across. I like that a lot. Typically, you kind of throw a flat one in here just to smooth that out a little bit, but I don't mind it. Got our flat turns, very PTC-esque. A little bit fast, but not too bad. And then we're coming back through here, turn the corner, and then we have a couple more hills back to the station, including this nice dip underneath the coaster that was here later, but I believe we're saying this one came after this guy, but no matter. Really nice station. Again, kind of love this woodworking up and over. That big arched, kind of barrel arched midsection here, and then the little smaller arches on either side for the coaster to come through. So big fan of that. I probably would have liked to have seen the coaster get longer, but it honestly fits the space so well that I can get behind it. It's a good look. And well, let's just see out of curiosity. It is 2,654 feet, which is reasonable. A little short still, but not bad at all. And then let's see what's in the box. It is, surprise, surprise, a premier limb bowl ride. So Flight of Fear. We've actually somehow reviewed a ton of these in our streams here. So kind of interesting in that regard. But let's take a look. So we have 3 trains with a load and an unload station, which is similar to how the Flight of Fear has worked. We have this guy sitting in his block brakes ready to go, and here he is off for the races through a Cobra Roll and an Immelman, and following the real layout pretty well. Actually, it's tough to get this layout, but everybody does it a little bit differently from all the different ones that we looked at in the streams already. Each of them's a little bit different, but I think they all look pretty good. And I mean, this one's got great supports. Certainly a knot and a mess, and probably very painful to do, but looks good. The building is tall, but doesn't look super imposing. I mean, part of that's the cutaway, but we saw how G-Force in his raised up the land, so the thing looked a little bit sunk down, which could have been a good strategy, but I don't mind it just being here. And I sure do love the theming in here with all the lightning and the smoke and these lights and things like that. It's cool to see that level of theming throughout. So well done on that regard. Would have been kind of neat to see the walls in here painted black, but you wouldn't have been able to see this stand out among or against the background if that was the case. So I think this is probably the best choice from a design standpoint for sure. So pretty simple station here, but kind of feels like what you would get out of Paramount and in most of its era. Some things like the Tomb Raider rides went pretty above and beyond as far as theming goes, but this guy is pretty simple. Facade here kind of screened the rest, and then a queue line out here under some canopy coverings and all of that. But I do like this entrance, feels very Mayan to me. And then nice little promenade all the way back to Racer. So that's it. It's just this little park. Definitely not complete. I mean, we see a hint of going off here and going off in this direction, and I'm sure that this was not meant to be a dead end. We're in an actual park. I'm sure this would continue on, and there would be other bits and bobs to look at. But I just like what's here, and I love these kind of contests and just builds in general where a park grows on itself over time and you can kind of see it develop, whether it's a timeline park or whether it's just something like this where the park expands and then you get to see a different part of it. And it's kind of neat because some of it requires a little bit of pre-thought, but at the same time you also can be forced to be a little bit creative as the park expands. So always fun to see these kind of things. It reminds me of Enchanted Elements, which if you're not familiar is a park from way back in the day, 10 plus years now. That was a year by year park. Had some really cool stuff. Very old school. Maybe that will be a review for another day when we want a longer stream because there's quite a lot to go through on that. But definitely a neat park. But back to here. This is really well done, and I always do appreciate Lewis's style. Lewis's layouts are strong, and the detailing is good. I would love to see that all come together for a fully complete, fleshed out, finished park. But this is good taste of that. I think there's a lot of nice things to see here, and I hope the build of this will bolster more things. But well done. Enjoyed looking through this, and I hope you all did too. I will post a link to the download if you would like to check it out for yourself. So thank you very much for watching, and as always, if you have a park that you would like for me to review, please let me know in the comments, and I will add it to the queue, the ever-growing queue, but we are slowly chugging our way through that, and we hope to have some more of these for you soon. So once again, thank you for watching very much, and you all have a good day.